All right, so the next thing I want to talk to y'all real quick is about selenite. Selenite is one of those crystals, one of my favorite crystals, because it has a lot of benefits to it, and you can use it for multiple purposes. Okay, one of the first things I want to talk about is some of its physical healing properties. It can help with the sex drive. It can help with the menstrual cycle. It can help with like youthful appearance, getting rid of wrinkles, aging spots, acne. Eczema. It can help with a lot of things by keeping selenite on you. A lot of times I like to sleep with it, not only for helping with the spine. It helps with like nerve pain in the spine. It also helps with connecting to the angelic world because it's good for the crown chakra. And so I like selenite for that reason as well. And so I like to sleep with it a lot. Sometimes I'll get a long piece of selenite like this, right? And I like to sleep with it lined up with the spine, just like so, right? And if I don't use this piece, I might use my selenite wand that I use for multiple purposes. And this one just has black tourmaline and carnelian stones on it, right? I added fabric for a handle, and I have some copper wire. And, I'll sleep with it. Here, I'll lay down with it, and then eventually it'll fall off in the middle of the night. But I'll lay down and go to sleep with it, lined up with my spine. So, this is one of the things I like using selenite for its healing properties. One of the things that selenite is also good for is for when it comes to emotional and spiritual. It's good for helping you deal with abuse, and I'm going to talk about that in another video on how to use crystals to relieve emotional pain. And there's different crystals you can use. I mean, you can even use just clear quartz, but I'll talk about in that video why I prefer selenite being one, depending on what you're going through. Now, another thing I like about selenite is that it's good in raising vibrations in the space or in your home or in your room. So if you take a bunch of pieces of selenite, and I'm going to bring this down some, okay? Take a bunch of pieces of selenite, and you just put these around the room, right? And you can use these pieces as they grid your room. They will raise the vibrations in your room, because when it comes to negative energy can't live in a space that has a lot of positive energy, a lot of love energy, a lot of light energy. So the only way to fight dark energy or negative energy is with light energy. So if you place selenite around your space, right? Let's say in your bedroom, right? All around your space, right? Then it grids the room, right? And it blocks the negative energy from being able to stay in. Even if it comes in, it's going to have to leave. It's too much light energy inside. So that dark energy is going to have no choice but to go away. I went in someone's home before, and when you walked in, I mean, you can tell the vibrations in her home were super high. And when she told me why, she showed us there was selenite everywhere. I mean, everywhere, everything you look behind, that was a small piece of selenite everywhere. And you could tell that's why the home felt so light and felt so high when you walked in. And so that's definitely what I plan on doing as well, which is why I have so many pieces, because I'm going to do this whole house one room at a time, starting with the downstairs. Then I'll work my way up and do each room with these pieces. So a cool thing about selenite is that if you use a long stick, right, a longer stick, this size is probably big enough, but if you use a longer one, right, you can also use it to cleanse the aura, right, the energy field, because you get blockages in your energy field, right? So what I like to do is when I have a client, or maybe the kids or myself, the wife, if someone's feeling a little heavy, right, it could be negative energy on them, it could be a negative entity on them, I'll use the selenite wand, and I'll go up and down their aura, front, back, side to side, diagonal, and cleanse their aura just to make sure we remove all negative energy. And the same goes if they have any negative entities attached to them. then I'll remove those entities as well and send those entities to the sun source, which is like spirit jail, or send them to the creator for judgment, because, you know, depending. And I'll get that answer based off using my dowsing tools, whether it be my copper rods that I use. Sometimes I use my copper rods to ask, you know, in case the entity, sometimes when I start questioning the negative entity, to jump off the person and try to run. So I use my copper rod sometimes so I can track it, just in case. And I'll ask, you know, the question to my higher self, you know, where I should send that entity. And then I use my Selenite wand to command that negative entity to go where it's supposed to go. So that's the cool thing about using a Selenite wand, a Selenite stick, to cleanse the aura and cleanse negative entities and negative energy off of people. Another good thing you can do is use your Selenite to cleanse spaces in the place of sage. You know, sometimes you can't use sage because you know, maybe it may be a place that you can't burn anything, or it may be not a situation where you can, you know, people are sleeping. Like when I did my dowsing video where I cleansed someone's home, you know, it wasn't appropriate to use sage at that moment. So I used my Selenite wand at the time to get rid of the entities. It probably would have been much quicker if I just took sage, went around the house, and just got rid of everything. But, you know, we adjust depending on the situation. Now, if I was cleaning a large space, which I have before, and I use my Selenite staff, right? And I got a few more things in here. I got black tourmaline around here. I have carnelian. I have a copper stone. I have an amber stone, and I have hematite on here as well. My wife actually put the top part together for me. This is a staff that stands up on its own, and I put the fabric on it. We actually make these. All our wands we make by hand. And what I do with this is I use this to raise vibrations in large spaces. So one of the places we vend at, where we sell our products or conduct readings, the energy was really low when I walked in, and someone had told me that I had enough power to cleanse a room. And so I told my wife, and she said, well, let's make you something that can do that. And that's how we end up coming up with this. So I went to the space. We set up our table for the first time, and I walked around a little bit, and I just, in a clockwise motion, I started bringing in love and light energy, you know, channeling in through my crown chakra all the way down to my solar plexus, and then from my root chakra all the way up to my solar plexus. And then I visualize the two combining, the light and love energy, and then coming out to my hands, and then throughout the wand, and slowly, clockwise, sending that energy out into the room. And by the end of the day, people, the other vendors were telling me how it was the first time they had actually talked to each other. Most of the vendors kind of sit to themselves and only work with their own products and talk to their own people. And by the end of the day, everybody was talking to everybody. It was the first time they had actually, you know, got to know each other. And so pushing that light energy around actually had made a big difference, using my Selenite staff and channeling that energy through my body. So Selenite is a really, really good tool, good crystal to use. Different ways to use it. You know, like I said, if you don't have sage, you can use Selenite to cleanse a space the same way. You know, just push that love and light energy throughout that space and just cleanse it the same way. Okay, so this is why I love Selenite. So many features. Sometimes even when I'm having like a headache, or sometimes I'm just having like my sinuses are really, really bad, I'll take a piece of Selenite, using my Selenite egg, I left it in the room. I'll take my Selenite and I'll just lay it like right here between my eyes, and I'll just let the Selenite do its job. And sometimes you can feel the vibrations of the Selenite just working, you know, and it'll kind of loosen up the sinuses right behind the eyebrows there. So it has a lot of great benefits. And one of the things about Selenite people worry about is that because it's water soluble, so you know, you get it wet, it's going to like dissolve, you know. And so you have to really, really, really let it soak in there for it to do that. So for me to get this selenite like this, right? Because when I bought it, it was like, you know, it was rough. It was like this, you know, it was really rough, kind of like this, right? So to get it, like so to get it looking like this, I had to dip it in water. So I ran a sink full of water, and I took a medium and a fine sandpaper, and I would continuously dip the selenite in water, right? And as I dip it, I would sand it. I dip it and I sand it, right? So you have to really, really leave it in water for a period of time for it to completely dissolve. And the more I kept doing it, and smoothed it out, and it came out looking really nice. So don't be afraid that if it gets a little wet, it's gonna just like disintegrate. It's not gonna happen. You have to really leave it in mainly warm water. The water I used was cool water, so it was all right. And I used it to kind of shape it and give it a little bit of a tip. But I dropped it and kind of broke it a little bit, so I got to go back and reshape it. And that's a cool thing, you can reshape it. So really easy. So hope I didn't talk too fast. I didn't want to make the video too long. And I hope I gave you some valuable information on the selenite crystal. One of my favorite crystals. I use it a lot for everything, especially when connecting to the higher self, connecting to the angelic world, trying to raise vibrations, getting rid of emotional pain, which I've done with quite a few people. And I'll talk more about that in another video. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and I'll see if I can get to it and answer it for you, okay? Later.